Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? It's August 12th, so it's day 12 of RPG A Day 2022. And our question for today is, why did you start RPGing? Not playing RPGs, RPGing, which I find entertaining. And that's something I've talked about before a little bit, well, many times actually, but let's start from the beginning. You know, when I was a kid, like a lot of people, I enjoyed reading books. I enjoyed watching stories on television and the movies. I liked Lord of the Rings. I got introduced to Narnia. I got introduced to science fiction, all those sorts of things, and in other stories, to be honest with you, Swiss Family Robinson and Robinson Crusoe and all that kind of stuff. And in all of these, you know, I not only did I find an escape from childhood, but I was able to see novel situations. I'm able to see different types of characters, different types of people. But I was able to witness in some way characters that were empowered to make decisions about what was happening, to have an effect on what was happening, to not just be helpless. And, you know, children are a little bit helpless, to be quite honest with you. And so I wasn't able to make decisions like that in my own life, but I could witness other people making those decisions. And like a lot of us, you know, at the end of the book, the story, you know, whatever happened to be, a little sad. You know, sometimes, you know, artistically the story ended at a particular part and that makes perfect sense. But I always wondered, well, geez, what happened next? I'd like to see more about these particular characters. I wonder what happens after that. And, you know, it's a little sad that it was over. The other thing that, you know, happened to me was that, you know, very often as I'm reading or watching or otherwise experiencing these tales and stories, read a lot of Greek myth too, which I loved. You know, every once in a while I'm thinking to myself, well, what would I have done in those situations? If I was one of those characters, would I have made different decisions? Because very often you're like, no, don't do that. Do this other thing instead, you know. Sometimes I'd wondered, what would I have done if I was in that situation? And very often I imagined being another character, thinking about what they would have done in these particular situations. Made different decisions, perhaps. That sort of stuff. So, of course, you know, when the concept of role-playing games shows up, you know, this was fantastic to me. This idea that, you know, the story didn't have to end, that I could be in these novel situations and that I could make decisions on my own. You know, maybe I just made decisions as myself if I was there, but, you know, very often, you know, I can make decisions as a character and maybe a little bit like me. That was really, really interesting. It was a very empowering experience. I don't think I realized how much of the attraction to role-playing games was based on this idea that, you know, I would be empowered, that I could make my own decisions, that I was able to matter and have an effect on my circumstances, be they imagined or not. You know, and so much later, you know, talking to my friends, you know, Anthony and some other people, about stuff like that and figuring out, you know, what was the big allure and continues to be the big allure of role-playing games for me. So that's, in a nutshell, why I started playing RPGs. What about you?